That's being a kid, you know, just, it's just so simple. That's what's beautiful about clay, isn't it? That's it, anyone could do that. That's really special, I really like it. And, you know, working at Aardman and the history that they have with clay, you know, seeing those guys make magic from that, that's really special, that's really cool. So, but I'm not a model maker, so who knows what this is going to turn out to be. It might just be 3 nice spheres, who knows. I went to Bristol and moved there because I didn't go to university and I'd never lived anywhere else. I grew up in Leicester in the Midlands, middle of England, and the creative scene just didn't hold me. There wasn't an awful lot there. I had my first job there, which I adored, and that gave me my platform, gave me the confidence to make a career out of it. But because I'd never lived anywhere else, I found it really important to do so. I came to Bristol to meet a friend. I was going to make the website of an artist called Mr. Jago for free because I was a fan of his work, I loved it, and sent him an email saying, hello, your website, can I build you a new one for free, please? And he went, yeah, for free, of course you can. So I went down to Bristol to meet him. I was, I don't know, 21, 22. And fell in love with the city and thought it was beautiful. You know, it's very green, it's very luscious. You can see lots of hill. It's very hilly, so you can see lots of different vistas in the city, which is gorgeous. Moved there, and as soon as I moved there, I made a friend and I said, "You've got to take me to Aardman. I have to know just where it is because you know I grew up watching Wallace and Gromit and Morph and Shaun the Sheep. You know, a big fan of animation." And so he took me to the building and we just stood outside and looked at it, you know, and I was still in awe of being there. And then I continued doing my own, working as a freelance sort of digital designer, doing a lot of websites and interactive things, but also doing photography and illustration and character design and toy design and filmmaking in my own time, and would sort of put that in my portfolio alongside the paid client job. So I had a portfolio of all sorts of different things. And then because I was new to the city, I really made a point of using all the online networks to just get pieces of work and see what could happen. So I signed up to lots of sites and you know that would advertise jobs and creative opportunities. And I made sure I used them quite a lot. I made sure I was active on them. And then one day I got an email that said, hello from Aardman. And I've never replied to an email so quick in my whole life. It was like, oh my God. And it was from a guy called Dan Efagan, who was the creative director of the interactive arm. Yeah. And that was a brand new department within Aardman, and this was 10 years ago, that was starting to do interactive games and apps, well not even apps at that time, you know, games and websites. Would I like to join them for a freelance period on a project for a big broadcaster in the UK called Channel 4? Oh my God, yes, of course. So I went in for a cup of tea to say hello and have a chat, and I've never left. You know, I became friends with the guys, I adored working there, and then because the department was at such an early stage, there was about 5 people. You know, there was just a producer, just one creative director, just one designer, just one, you know, it was very small. I grew with it, and they sort of said, do you want to stay and be the senior designer? Yes, of course I do, that would be amazing. But what was really special is I was doing my own thing in my own time under the name of Jam Factory, just for fun, just as a sort of my passion projects and side projects. And they never made me feel like you have to leave that behind, not at all. It was encouraged that to do it, yeah, which made a huge difference. And really early on, I had like a custom toy show. So I designed a tiny vinyl toy called a Droplet. And to launch that in Bristol, I had an art show I had 100 blank white versions, and asked different people to customise them just as part of the show. And because I'd been at Aardman for a short time, I just thought, well, why not try and work with these people? So I asked Nick Park, and he said yes. And I asked Golly, who's the director and creator of Shaun the Sheep, and he said yes. And so all these people that I was huge fans of and became friends with, you just ask, don't you? You just say, hello, this is me, this is what I do. And so it's just gone on and on. So from a very early start, my personal projects and creative stuff was mixed in with the day job. There was no separation. I have my bread and butter, shall I call it, that is what you get paid for. Because this is a thing that I didn't get to cover in my talk yesterday, that I sort of advocate doing everything and trying everything you're excited by. And that's the idealistic version, but the realistic version is, okay, you have to have your calling card, you have to have your pillar that people can hire you for, and so mine was interactive design, and that was what pays the bills, and then all the other stuff is unpaid or side projects or personal projects. And it's over this period of 10 years that, as I said yesterday, that I'm proudly now an Aardman director as well as a designer. That's because I was doing filmmaking and experimentation in those times, but bringing it into my work where I could and sharing it and saying, hey, this is what I've been working on. And over the years, that scale has got bigger, the support from Aardman has got more, so I would be given time, to work with an editor or a model maker or another director. And so, so it's really nice that I feel like I'm a real example of, you do need that base, that thing that people can hire you for, but who knows where that's going to lead once you start sharing the other things that you're excited by. So yeah, it's amazing. I think it's really important. I mean, just in terms of sort of like literally construct and deconstruct, I think it's really important to take a step back and kind of deconstruct who you are, what you're doing, where are you going, are you happy? If you're not happy, why are you not happy? Deconstruct that. I think that's, I kind of call that perspective, just taking that step back and looking at the building blocks that make you you, or make you who you are at that current moment in time. And I think that's massively important, because as well as it, if you're constructing your career or your creative path and you're going up and up and up, it's never that simple, is it? There's always things that are going to block you in your way, or you try and build something and it falls back down. So sometimes things get deconstructed and that's not your fault. That's just how it works. So I think if you have a healthy relationship with deconstructing your path, your process, who you are as a human being, your feelings, especially because all of this is incredibly personal. Creativity is inherently personal and emotional, because you can't detach from it, you can't dismiss it. It is who you are as a human being. And I'm someone that gets really frustrated with myself, really frustrated with myself, and I will sort of like physically deconstruct things because I just get mad at myself. I mean, it's not in my creative profession, but sort of my hobbies, the creative things I love, like dancing and drumming and skateboarding, all three of those things, I get physically mad and angry when I can't do it, because I want to be better than I am, and it's I hate it. It's horrible. I hate that I get that. When I used to skateboard, before I moved to Bristol, I had my office above a skate store, which was a dream. So I did all their digital sort of website design for the guys, but that would also mean that I would spend all my paycheck on skateboards. But what was awful is when I would go out and skate and try and learn a trick, if I got frustrated with myself, the first thing I would do is just get my skateboard and smash it. Because my brain would go, I'll just go and get a new one. And that's so unhealthy, that's so bad. So I had to make that change of stop being an idiot and go and be healthy and don't deconstruct physically. So I'm someone that I take it very personally, and it's just, when you love something so much and you want to be good. I think I have this spectrum where when you start something new and you're terrible at it, that's absolutely fine. That's healthy, that's great. Of course, you start something new and
you pick up quick. The first learning 5 steps are very
yeah, and then you start to feel, okay, maybe I can do this. Then the second I'm not terrible, I want to be the best in the world. And if I'm not the best in the world, I want to destroy everything. Like, it's this really horrible, like, here you are, here you are, here you are, you know. But that's just, again, kind of like we're saying, that's who I am, and that's how I work. And you have to kind of make peace with that. You have to deconstruct, why am I like that? It's maybe, you know, I was very mediocre as a kid. There was nothing I excelled at. So I think once I do find something that I'm not terrible at, I want to be the best because I want to prove to myself that I can do it. So, you know, it's deconstructing that. Do you know what I mean? It can get quite deep, but I think that's healthy to have those conversations with yourself or other people about how you operate as a human being. It's hard to pick them out, really. I mean, I think being a freelancer before was really healthy in terms of appreciating how terrifying it is when you don't have any work, to build your own portfolio and to make sure that you're constantly shouting about your work, because it's not comfortable for everyone to talk about their work because it feels narcissistic. But I think it's inherently important now because, you know, there's 6-7 billion people on the planet, and lots of those people are creative, and lots of those people work for themselves and do the thing. So you have to shout because there's so much going on. So it kind of made me proactive in trying to share my work. I don't know. I think I just started doing it because, okay, I'll start sharing my work, and there's not really any negative to it, really. I think, you know, if people don't want to look, they won't look. And generally, okay, there's lots of trolls online, but if you as an individual, I think only famous people get trolls, right? So for normal people like us, you know, you share your work, and yeah, if people do want to look at it, they will click and look and maybe give you a nice comment, and if not, they probably won't say anything. So there's no downside to it, you know. We're lucky that maybe if you want to get in touch with someone, you can email someone, and the worst that can happen is they won't reply, or they will say no. It's not the same rejection as calling them up and then they're rude to you, and then you feel all weird, and especially if it's maybe someone you look up to, you know, it mars the experience. But actually, the sort of worry has been taken away from that a little bit, because it's a little more, you just put your thing out into the world, and if a positive thing happens, it will change and morph, and it will go forwards. If not, it doesn't matter. So actually, I think realising that there's no downside, there's no bad side to it, it's healthy, and it's good for you if you're not a fan of sharing like that. You know, it's a positive way to do it because there are not really any ramifications. But yeah. Trying to think really. I mean, I don't miss freelancing at all. I wouldn't ever go back to it. For me, I like the financial stability, and what I mean by that is it lets me do my passion projects without any worry. So I don't like to do anything in my own time for money, because it makes it complicated. It makes it a job. You know, it's not a project, it's a job. And there's the expectation that if I get it wrong, then, you know, it's going to be a horrible process because I've not delivered what the other people or person want. But if it's a personal project just for me, or it is for other people, but it's without money, then that makes it a lot fairer, because it's understood. It's a passion project. So I like the freedom that gives me. So I wouldn't change that. I'm trying to think. I'm just really glad I did do it as a freelancer before, because I just think it gives you an appreciation of a good client and a bad client. I'm very, very lucky at Aardman. We work with lovely people, and it's a lovely experience. But I'm glad that I had doing it on my own, you know, doing both the design side but also the production side, you know, doing your invoices, working out how much you're going to charge, dealing with emails at 2 o'clock in the morning, trying to make things go back and forth. So I'm glad I have an appreciation of that, because I don't have to do that much now, but I can totally appreciate that. I'm working with a producer and a bigger team, it helps me understand the different roles and hopefully be more sympathetic to them, because I understand what it and how much how big a job it is to organise something, to get paid, to, you know, it gives you a holistic experience, right? So that's why I'm really glad that I did it. I actually think I owe my whole career to my first job, to my first boss, because when I first started there, I started as a junior graphic designer, because I went to college, which is like the next step after school in the UK, and I got this job as a junior. Very, you know, I was 17, I didn't really know anything, and I was a graphic designer. And really early on, they said, hey, do you want to learn to be a web designer instead? Okay. So this was 18 years ago. The web wasn't as it is now. And I tinkered online. I'd made a website in Microsoft Word, which is technically possible, but that's all I knew. I was interested in it. And so I took that opportunity because I thought it sounded new and interesting. And I loved being a graphic designer, but I wanted to do more, you know, wanted to just see what was out there. And it was my boss at the time that said, hey, you're learning all of this stuff during the day, but, you know, maybe you should carry on experimenting at night, you know, to see where it takes you. I think you should get your own website, get your own little domain name, and see where it goes. I was like, oh, cool, okay, yeah, that sounds a good idea. And he was like, just call it whatever you want. And I was like, okay, I'm going to think of a really cool name, because like at the time, the Designers Republic, 123 Clan, Too Advanced, there was lots of like cool studios / alter egos of designers and people, Cuban Council, K10K, there's all these cool names. I was like, I want a cool name too. And so I went to the domain name like logging, like buying site, and I was like, oh, Jam Factory? Oh, it's free, buy it. And so I bought it, and then that is my, you know, that's been my sort of persona this whole time. And then fast forward, then 18 years now, so when I got officially named as an art man director a couple of weeks ago, I'm named as my art director name is Jam Factory. I love that something that I started as my personal project, experimentation, learn more, has taken me all the way to this point.
As a teenager too,
no? Yeah, exactly, yeah. So the fact that actually it was my boss at the time that encouraged me to just experiment more, and I don't think I knew, I don't know if I would have done it without that push, because I think I was still, I didn't have too much confidence in myself. I don't think I would have thought, oh, okay, maybe I can go home and try and do things on my own terms. I think I really, I don't know if I would have come to that realization so early on. But the fact that he encouraged me and gave me the confidence, because I could just play at my own time with no rules. It didn't matter what I did right, what I did wrong, and I would just try all the different things. So the stuff that I showed yesterday of illustration and photography and character design and toy design, I just did it because I was excited on it. And then soon as, you know, I realised there was no downside to that, you might as well try, I still do it now. And, you know, I'm 35 and it's working and it's worked, and I'm going to continue doing it. I think actually he really appreciated having someone to like pass on his knowledge. He was a very smart guy, and I was a very young, impressionable dude, and he clearly saw that he could give some advice, and I would take it on. I wasn't going to go, yeah, all right, whatever. You know, I was eager and hungry to learn more. So I think that really, I don't know. I think that's what he saw in it, but I don't really know what his reasoning was, really. I think he just genuinely believed, because he did a lot of personal projects and a lot of things in his own time, and could clearly see the benefit. He just thought, hey, it's worked for me. Maybe it'll work for you. I mean, he was a businessman. He had lots of side projects where he earned money. He was very into technology. That's why he was leading the interactive stuff, the digital stuff. Okay. So I think he just thought, well, Gavin might not make any money, but he'll have fun learning something. So it worked out. I actually can't remember the last time it was money changed hands. Sometimes, for example, the FITC titles that I did recently, there was a small fee involved in that. That was sort of that's the same. They pay the same for every titles every year, but it's really here's a gesture more than anything. I've never come to anything and gone, I demand this. I mean, if there is materials, then yeah, of course, sometimes it's that, but generally, most passion projects are just for me. They're just experimentation. Recently, with title sequences that are for other people, they are different, and sometimes there's a little bit of money for materials. But then sometimes there's been money spent on like additional things. So did the title sequence for the Off Festival in 2016, and we made a vinyl toy for every attendee. We had 2,500 toys made, and that was just an email just to the guy saying, hey, so we're making this film for you. And so one of the amazing things as well is the director of the festival, Hector Ayusta, he doesn't want to know anything about the titles. He watches it on the night with everyone else, just leaves you to it for a year, which is incredibly trusting. But halfway through production, because we'd made a little stop frame character, we just said, hey, we don't want to tell you anything, but could you give us like loads of money to make a toy? We'll get a quote for you, but would it be possible? And he just replied and says, yeah, sounds great. And so, you know, there's things like that actually that happen, that you never know where that's going to take you. And that's the more exciting stuff for me, I think. You know, those little additional things that are only enabled by someone paying a little bit of cash. It's one of those things, isn't it? The classic, in the good old days. You know, in the good old days.
But it could have been worse before.
Yeah, I don't know. No, I kind of believe it's all the same, really. I mean, there must be an acceleration of a change of style, of a change of pace. So we must get through sort of trends quicker, maybe because we are so quick to see a new style or a new thing pop up online. But I think it's still as healthy, if not, I would argue maybe more healthy, because we have access to so many different styles. So you might be totally influenced by a current trend, but then at the same time you might also be researching 1920 rug patterns from Africa. Do you know what I mean? So actually your inspirations are far more diverse, that is going to make for a much more interesting sort of mix. So yeah, it's probably more accelerated, but it's maybe it's more even healthier than before because of the diversity and the number of people getting involved in creativity, maybe because again it's easier to see that there is a career beyond this, which is a really exciting thing to have. So yeah, no, I see it as a positive. I like to see everything as a positive. You might as well. Well, I made a friend on a train, and I owe my whole speaking career to him. So this was back. This was about 8 years ago, I think. And what happened was a guy got on in front of me in a train, and this was when there wasn't really any Apple stores. There was only a few. Apple wasn't as big as it is now. And this guy got on in front of me, and he had an Apple logo on the back of his T-shirt. And I was a fan of Apple, and I just sort of says to him, "Hey man, do you work at Apple?" And he turned around and was very positive. I was like, "Yes, I do." I was like, "Oh, cool. I like Apple." And he said, "I like Apple too." So we started chatting. We just chatting on a train, just geeking out on computers, and that was it. We were just talking, and then I gave him a business card. So I was freelance at this point. And about 2 weeks later, I just got an email from this fella saying, "Hello, you don't remember me, but I'm John. We met on the train. I am starting to organise events at Apple stores. Would you be up for giving a talk about your work?" I was like, You know, sort of when you really do want to do something, but you're really scared because you've never done it before. It's like, yeah. So I said yes, and it was the worst talk I've ever given. I spoke for an hour and a half.
Whoa.
Because I didn't understand about not speak. I'm doing it now. I mean, I've been talking to you guys for ages. I'm sorry. You know, I just got really excited. I took every physical thing I'd ever made, skateboards, toys, t-shirts, literally everything. Put them all on the front of this Apple store. But and people very kindly gave me their time. But it wasn't so terrible that they never asked me back. And what happened was the Apple stores around the UK were starting to do more events themselves because more stores were popping up. So that was in the Leicester store in the Midlands. That was in Birmingham. And then I did one in Leicester because they had heard that this person was doing creative things. And then the Regent Street store in London, which is the big, beautiful flagship store, said, oh, would you like to do one here? Yes, yeah, of course, because it's a big fancy store. And so I did that one. And then, you know, like anything, I was still sharing that I was doing these talks. I was putting it on my website at the time and social media. I don't know if social media was around, maybe early days of Twitter, just sort of saying, hey, this is what I'm doing. And like anything, as soon as you start saying, this is what I'm doing, people go, oh, you're a speaker. And you go, yeah, yes, yeah, I don't know, yeah. And then, you know, little by little, those speaking opportunities increased, and I would get better at speaking. Hopefully I'm better. But I still approach festivals and places that I would love to speak, like all the time. A friend of mine called James White, who goes by the name of Signal Noise, amazing graphic artist from Canada. We became buddies on Flickr many years ago because our careers were sort of happening at the same time. And he spoke at FITC in Amsterdam, and I just sent him a message saying, "Hello, mate. Could you put in a good word for these people? I'd love to speak." The best thing about being a speaker is you get to go to amazing conferences, be super inspired by people, and then because you're a speaker, the people that you're super inspired by, you get to go up and say, hello, I'm a speaker too, and I think you're amazing. Because normally I'd be too scared to do that because I get a bit nervous speaking to amazing people, but if you've got a speaker badge or something, it just gives you the confidence to do it.
You look legit.
Yeah, you look legit, yeah. So, you know, if anything, I love doing that. And then because I'd spoken at FITC, you know, suddenly if someone is looking at your portfolio, they go, oh, you've spoken at those places, so you must be a speaker of that level. But then I wanted to speak it off.
YouTube videos.
Yeah. And then they just...
social media buzz around that.
Yeah, and especially now, like Twitter and Instagram, obviously lots of people share when people are speaking. But then I wanted to speak it off as well. And so I asked James again. I was like, hey man, thanks so much for sorting me out at FITC. Could you put in a good word for me at off as well? So I spoke it off. And then I think from FITC and off, it's sort of, I mean, whilst I was at FITC, I got an email from Reasons to Be Creative in Brighton in England because they'd seen my name on the list at the thing. So it's like anything, isn't it? You have to sort of put yourself out there and see what can happen. And I love it. I think it's such a privilege to be able to stand on a stage and just talk about what you love, and for people to give you their time as well. You know, there's a lot of amazing speakers, and I'm massively honoured to be part of it. And I love it. It's wonderful. And if anything, actually, it lets you deconstruct who you are, because you have to assemble your talk and you have to look at what you've done, why you've done it, where you're going with it, what the good things were, what the bad things were. So actually it's healthy for you to build a talk, I think. So I think everyone should be a speaker. It's very good. That's a good question. I love good screens. I love good AV. I'd have like, in FITC, they had 9 connected screens. I saw a venue recently that my friend Mr. Bingo spoke at that had 360 screens, and the podium was in the middle, so all the crowd is around. I'd like something like that, crazy screen. No, I'd have a full 360 dome, you know, like a planetarium. So I've done an event in half a planetarium, but I'd do a full dome. I'd have people like Signal Noise, Bingo, Draklin, Kim Alper, who's incredible, Jessica Hirsch. I'd want filmmakers and artists and illustrators and letterers and all sorts of people. I'd want loads of amazing food. I'd want good weather. I'd want it to be massive, and I'd want it to be, I don't know, free for like most people. I don't know. I'd want it to be a utopia of positivity, I think. And just a big like positive celebration of everything. And yeah, man, just happiness. And I'd have confetti cannons every day that would signal when every speaker was about to start. It'd just be a big, bright, colourful mess of fun.